and I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was terrible. It was a disaster. And I'll be the first to say, I didn't think this debate was going to happen. I've been telling you that since it was first predicted or scheduled. And boy, am I glad I was wrong, because this was amazing for all of us to actually finally be validated before our very eyes about what we've seen from this president and all the gaslighting that we've been getting from the left, from the media, from the White House, from everyone telling us that, no, what are you talking about? This guy is amazing. He's firing on all cylinders. He's the most together president that we've ever had in our entire lifetimes. When we've seen what the cheap fakes is what they tried to slander us with. Please, we saw it for our very eyes. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of highlights right now of how bad Joe Biden was. Sadly, lost in all of that is the fact that Donald Trump may have had one of the strongest political performances of his entire career right when he needed it. And of course, we're going to show you how bad Joe was, but we're also going to show you some moments where Donald Trump really, really shined and gave any voter that might have doubts about him and his ability to lead for 4 more years the answer that they've been waiting for. So let's get right to it. It all began in this fashion with Joe Biden and Donald Trump on that stage with no audience, with just Jake Tapper and Dana Bash on CNN. Every single demand that Joe Biden's people put on this debate, Donald Trump agreed to. Remember that. Everything that you saw was how Joe Biden and his team designed it. And well, watch for yourself.
What's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
That's the biggest takeaway soundbite. If you need one moment to sum up the entire evening, that was it, especially with this screenshot. Look at this side by side that CNN showed us all night long. Inadvertently, I think they were just doing it as a television device. But this was probably the most powerful political imagery we got. When you see the man on the left side of your screen in the red tie, in command not just of the facts and of his faculties, but in command of the stage and of the moment, rising to the size of the moment and filling it. And then you see the man on your right, a weakened, debilitated, shallow man whose voice could barely even get picked up on his microphone. I think I've mentioned this before on this show, but you know that whenever he does a campaign appearance now, and even most of his political appearances at the White House, official appearances, even though they have the podium set up with the microphones for anybody else who's speaking at the podium, when it's time for Joe Biden to speak, he uses a handheld microphone. Even though he's not going to wander around half the time, he's actually staying right at the same podium, but he uses that handheld microphone. And it looks like he's going to karaoke night at the local pub, right? I've mentioned this before. The reason is that he can put that microphone right at his mouth. And then they throw the gain up to its highest level so it picks up his voice and makes it sound stronger than it really is. He is absolutely physically debilitated from where he was several years ago, from where he was a year ago. And part of his physical debilitation is that voice. They told us 45 minutes into the debate that he had a cold. No, sorry, guys, that ain't a cold. And the lapel mic that he has, that he's wearing, along with the podium mic, is not enough to pick up his voice when he talks right into the microphone like he normally does. without that crutch, without that technical trick that the White House has been using to fool you into thinking that he's healthier than he really is, you saw Joe Biden as he really, really is. Donald Trump's campaign team put together a fantastic minute-and-a-half montage of some of the lowest points in this debate. Let's go to those.
Both how are you? Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans. The impact on the choice, the idea that they're gonna. I'm proposing that everybody the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I've not raised the cost of Social Security for anybody. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
Yeah, when a campaign puts out a video ad like you just saw, and the entire contents of the ad is just your political opponent speaking uninterrupted, without any response, without any retort, without any voiceover, it's just let him speak, and that makes a powerful case for your candidacy. You've had a good night. In fact, CNN did a flash poll of people who watched the debate and asked them, these are CNN viewers, asked them who won the debate. 67% of CNN viewers said Donald Trump won, which, begs the question, who the hell are the other 33% who said Biden? They need as much medical attention as Joe Biden does right now. There was a moment in the debate where the question of the crimes against innocent Americans at the hands of illegal immigrants, thanks to Joe Biden's open borders, came up. And Joe Biden attempted to pivot on that topic and make it about abortion. Now, I'll tell you what I think he was trying to say, but watch what he did say first.
Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
All right, so here's what I think he was trying to say, and he screwed it up in the most disastrous way. I think he was trying to say, okay, sure, yes, we had a horrific crime against a young woman at the hands of an illegal immigrant. But listen, because of your outrageous, draconian, Handmaid's Tale, anti-woman abortion laws that you put in place, we've got women who are getting sexually assaulted by family members, and you would arrest them if they cross state lines to get an abortion. Now, it's a evil, horrific, immoral, completely inappropriate comparison to make, obviously, number one, but that's what the left does. They try to equivocate everything into their worldview about abortion. Doesn't matter how bad that is. If you don't let women kill their unborn babies, you're the biggest moral monster on the planet. That's what they do. But he couldn't even do that. He couldn't even do that. And in the middle of that rambling, mumbling, incoherent statement, he actually highlighted for the audience that Donald Trump attended the funeral of the young woman who was murdered because of his policies. a completely unforced error, basically pointing out a great thing that Donald Trump did. And then, honestly, there was just nonsense afterwards. And if you've seen members of the media and Democrats and liberals freaking out, and they are freaking out right now, and we're going to get to more details of their freak out in a moment. But the reason they're freaking out is what you just saw. Because, see, they've got two things right now. All they've got is two things. They can't talk about this man's record because you know better. You know exactly how bad things are right now. They can't talk about the economy. They can't talk about unemployment. They can't talk about safety in the streets. They can't talk about the secure border. They can't talk about peace in the world. They can't talk about foreign policy. They can't talk about America's stature. They can't talk about any of those things. They've got two things. They've got January 6th, which they expand into Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And if you vote for him, you're voting for a dictator. They've got that, and they've got abortion. And this was a big moment for him to get a slam dunk, devastating moment about abortion. And well, you saw what he did. And that's why they're freaking out. That's one of the reasons they're freaking out. All right, a little bit more here from the debate last night.
I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
So every day,
What the hell was that? Who ends a statement with, and by the way? And then just leaves it hanging, and look at the eyes. Let's watch it again.
I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
Look at that. What's terrifying, by the way, is I think he was hyped up on some sort of pharmaceutical. I'm sure it was just cold medicine for his really bad cold. And you can look at the eyes and the dilated pupils or undilated pupils, depending on what kind of cocktail he had. And you know, Dana Bash says thank you because the time is up, and he knows the time is up because there's lights everywhere and there's clocks everywhere. And he still says, and by the way, because the brain was already rolling down the hill and you just can't stop it. You don't have the strength to do that. You don't have the strength to stop the chain of events that are going on in your head in the synapses to your mouth when you've got the drugs going on. And so you then have to slam on the brakes, but you go ahead and rear end the car in front of you with a, and by the way, and just leave it hang. I might do that from now on. You know, you always want to end a segment here on the show with some sort of button, with some sort of slam. Kevin, I'm just thinking, hear me out. I'm just floating it. But, you know, you always want a great exit line to end the segment, and then you throw the titles up, and then that's the end of the video. How about every single time I just finish with, and by the way?
Yeah, that can be our new outro.
Right? You know
Yep.
what? Get the title ready. Let's just see how it works. Just as a quick test. Ready? I'm Larry O'Connor. And by the way, I like it. I like it. I mean, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'll just use it on those days when I have no way to get out of a segment. Sometimes you just talk yourself into a circle. You have, now, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to end this? Oh, I know. And by the way, it's actually not as good as his. I got to figure out how to do it like him.
Thank you.
and by the way,
I'm sorry. You got to laugh. You got to laugh. You know why you got to laugh? Because that guy right there is the commander-in-chief of our armed forces. And if you know of anyone, if you've got a family member, a spouse, a child, a parent who wears the uniform right now, this guy can put that loved one in harm's way with one order. And everybody knows exactly what's going on with this guy, and they've allowed this to continue. You know, we have had troops die in the last 8 months. A couple of soldiers in Iraq, a couple of Navy SEALs on an operation off the coast of Sudan. We've had members of the military die at his command because he has sent them into harm's way to carry out a mission. And shouldn't we investigate whether he was of sound mind when he made that call and knew what the hell he was talking about? or thinking, or did somebody put them in harm's way without his knowledge? Yeah, we laugh about this, but let's also remember how serious this is.
How close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name. And he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it. And now they see it happening, how close the police are to him.
Yeah, let's just let this run without sound, because honestly, again, we are operating in a visual medium here, and the visual is more important than anything. Watch Joe Biden and the side-by-side comparison here. And the moment when he, right there, correctly, accurately, factually says that Joe Biden coined the frame super predator. Actually, technically, it was he and Hillary Clinton in the mid-90s that used that term. And he acts like he's never heard that before. But it is 100% accurate. And again, the side-by-side visuals, it couldn't be more stark. You know, the people for the last several months, or for the last year for that matter, who have been saying, oh, sure, Joe Biden's 81, but heck, Donald Trump is only 2 years younger than him. There's no real difference. You know, he's losing it too. You see the 2-year comparison here? You see the side-by-side? I've said it 1,000 times. The problem with Joe Biden and the concerns about Joe Biden are not that he's old. It's that he has mashed potatoes for brains. He's had 2 brain surgeries in his lifetime. Yes, he's 81, but he's an old 81, okay? And he's a damaged 81. And this visual right here is the end of the election as far as Joe Biden's concerned. We'll get into more details on that coming up. But again, Donald Trump, great night. Joe Biden, awful night. Let's focus on some of the great moments for Donald Trump as well.
On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. That what happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
That was such a great moment, mostly because it was supposed to be one of the weak spots for Donald Trump. It was supposed to be one of the gotcha moments that Tapper and Bash had all lined up and that the Biden people were counting on. And that was challenge him on January 6th, make him defend his actions on January 6th, make him deny that anything was wrong with January 6th. And Donald Trump took that and said, you want to talk about January 6th? I'll tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a secure border. January 6th, we were energy independent. On January, I don't know who on Team Trump, and maybe it was Donald himself, came up with that when they asked you about January 6th. Address it and then move right to this. You know, this is a great debate tactic that you see seamlessly, flawlessly executed by the former president here, which is when you've got a vulnerable spot, hit it, address it quickly, and then immediately pivot and focus on the weaknesses of your opponent. Use the rest of your time to go on the attack. Don't be defensive. If you're defending yourself and if you're explaining, you're losing. So instead, address it. Don't be evasive. Don't lie. Don't do anything like that, but immediately go on the offensive. And boy, that is a masterclass right there on doing that. Not only going on the offensive, on attacking the record of your opponent and making it about what Americans really care about, which is not the events of 4 hours in January 6th on the Capitol, but our border, our crime problems, our national security, our foreign affairs, and our economy. That's what the viewers were looking to hear answers about. And not only were you attacking Biden on his vulnerabilities, but at the same time, you were reminding them that you did a damn good job. Absolutely brilliant. I know you're getting a lot of clips today and a lot of analysis of how bad Biden was. And yes, we're doing that. But it's really important to focus on what a good night Donald Trump had. irrespective of how bad Biden was. All right, a little bit more.
Making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
I mean, again, this clip, by the way, I don't know, between this clip and the one where Trump said, I don't know what the hell he just said, and I don't think I didn't understand what he said, and I don't think he understands what he said. Those two clips, you know, you look for that Reagan moment in a debate, or you look for the one takeaway, the one soundbite that'll live forever, right? I'm paying for this microphone, or there he goes again, or I won't make fun of my opponent's youth and inexperience when they were going after Reagan for his age. Those were all Reagan moments. There was also the, you're no John Kennedy moment against Dan Quayle, even though Lloyd Benson, the running mate of Michael Dukakis in 1988, ended up losing the election, even though he had that one big takeaway moment in the debate. You're looking for the takeaway moment in a debate. Those two are the takeaways here. I have no idea what the hell he just said, and I don't think he knows what he said. Or this one. This one is so good, and we're going to watch it one more time, but this time I want you to focus again on the side-by-side, but mostly on Trump, because as Biden's brain is malfunctioning and has no idea what he's saying, Donald Trump's just little cock of the head looking at him, almost partly out of concern. Are you okay? Are you okay, dude? But also out of, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. What the hell is he doing? What is happening here? The message that body language of just a little cock of the head conveyed is huge. But then when Biden incoherently comes up and says, we beat Medicare, which makes no sense. What do you mean you beat Medicare? Was Medicare an opponent of some kind? He can immediately take that nonsense moment and then flip it, make a 180, and turn it into a stinging takeaway soundbite against his own opponent by saying, yeah, you beat it to death. Again, because do you think Joe Biden can think on his feet like that? Do you think that he can make a turn like that? Of course not. He can barely say what he's been memorized to say, or possibly being told to him to say in his earpiece that we're not supposed to acknowledge he was probably wearing. Here it comes again, and watch it with me.
Person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look,
The double take.
if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's
Just, again, Biden, horrible. Trump, really, really good. All right, a little bit more.
Had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
Now, that may be one of the most despicable, disgusting lies that you've heard from any president of the United States. This is an unforgivable moment. And I don't know if Biden believes that, if he literally has no memory of what happened on his watch due to his incompetence, or whether he's just trying to deceive everybody. Oh, that was 3 years ago. No one will remember. But to stand up there and say that he's the first president, first he said centuries, then he said decades, to not have any military casualties during his presidency, when we all know that 13 service members died during his incompetent pullout of Afghanistan. They died because of his incompetence, because of his bad orders, because of his horrible Pentagon infrastructure and leadership that didn't stand up to him and say, no, Mr. President, what you're trying to do here in Afghanistan is going to get someone killed. You'll remember the 13 service members who died during his presidency because of his bad orders that he gave. for the pullout of Afghanistan. You'll remember them because when their remains were brought back home in the flag-draped coffins during that solemn ceremony in Dover, at Dover Air Force Base, the President of the United States and the Commander-in-Chief who sent those 13 brave Americans to their grave, President Joe Biden checked his watch several times because he had other places to be. Yeah, we remember. You may not remember, or you may think we don't remember, but we remember. All right. All right. And after that solemn moment, there was then an exchange, which again may go down in history as one of the more entertaining, strangest, but also a great indication of who these two men are, moments in debate history, in American political history, and that would be the challenge over their golf games. If you missed it, you need to watch it in its entirety.
I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 225 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was at 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I had, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay, let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21.
turn.
That may be my favorite part, is that it was then Donald Trump who had to call a halt to this and say, could we not act like children, please? Let's not act like children. This is actually kind of a serious thing. And I think Biden got lost in the moment. You could insult a lot of things about Joe, but don't insult his golf game. Also, I loved Trump's reaction here after all the lies that Joe Biden said last night. And Trump just sort of let it all sort of brush off his shoulder and roll off his back. And he was pretty nonplussed. The only time he reacted to the lies was when Biden claimed he was a 6 handicap. Keep your eye on Trump here as Biden rambles on about how great a golfer he is and how he has a 6 handicap. And when Trump hears it, his reaction, here it comes. He's trying to keep it together. He's keeping calm. Yeah, okay. There he goes. I don't know why, but that's just the purest guy moment. Those are just a couple of fellas. I did love also the social media reaction to that, which is, wait a minute. Could we actually solve this entire thing by just having them do a golf match? Because we could raise enough money to pay off the national debt, or at least close to it. All right. Then post-debate, there were more disconcerting moments. Now, you'll see here, this is a wide shot of the CNN stage. You've got your moderators there right in the center. Remember, this was an empty room, right? With no audience. Donald Trump is on the podium on the left. You can see the boom crane camera there as he's turning stage right to walk off. You'll look at the podium on your right, and there's Joe Biden, and there's Jill, Dr. Jill. She's a doctor, his wife, the first lady, in that light blue pantsuit. Now, keep an eye on them. It's a wide shot, so it's a little hard to see, but you're going to watch. Joe wants to go and thank his partner.
Making their way off the CNN debate stage.
Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. So to do that, he needs to walk down 3 steps that you can see right there in front of him. So he's standing there kind of wobbly, not sure what to do. So Jill has to then jumpstart him. nudge him along, and then, well, he's looking for a handrail that doesn't exist. So now he has to go down those 3 steps. Look at, he has to sidestep to go down 1 step at a time. It wasn't even 3. I'm sorry. It was 1 step. And then Jill, like the visiting angel she is, wearing scrubs, escorts him over to the desk. That's everything you need to know. That's everything you need to see. The president is not well. He is, as Robert Hur, the U.S. attorney and special prosecutor that investigated his criminal handling of classified documents, as he said in his report to the attorney general, he is incapable of standing trial because of his memory and his lack of mental facilities. And physically, he can't even walk down a small step on the set of the debate without physical assistance from his wife. His wife, the enabler. His wife, the elder abuser. As you can see in this moment, during a post-debate rally at a viewing party, Biden was ushered over there for a made-for-television moment, and he was introduced by his loving, adoring, and enabling wife with this rousing summation of the President of the United States' performance last night.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lie! Yes.
I watch this. I don't feel any sympathy for him. I know, I feel sorry for him. I don't, because he's just a bad guy. And during the debate, he said that all of you who support Trump are actually opposed to our Constitution and looking to destroy our country. He spent the last 4 years calling me a fascist, insurrectionist, terrorist. He ruined people's lives in his narcissistic bid for more political power. I don't feel sorry for him. But I am angry. I'm angry at what these people have done to our country, using this man as their meat puppet to gain power and to wreak the destruction that they have wrought on this country. And boy, talk about a low bar to
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question.
I mean, there's no denying that. He did, in fact, answer every question. Good for you. Here's your star. Here's a Tootsie Roll. Now you go back into the corner, and we'll wake you up when everything is done, when the grown-ups are done talking. It's mortifying to see a wife in public address her husband in this way. It is, and again, with the sound off, watch Joe Biden, watch the body language, watch the expressions, watch him. Keep your eye on him. Look at the face. Look at the look. Look at the... Yeah. Oh, I know. This is all just a cheap fake. It's just a cheap fake. All right. One more here. He then went to a Waffle House. All these made-for-television moments with paid, volunteers in the scene.
Mr. President, how did you perform tonight?
I think we did well.
Do you have any concerns that you should have that you're not doing the job, your voice, your performance tonight? Do you have any concerns about your performance?
No, I think it's hard to debate a liar. New York Times pointed out he lied 26 times. Big lies. He didn't tell the truth.
There you go. Hard to debate a liar. New York Times said that he lied, so it's got to be true. Hard to debate a liar. That's their talking point at this point. Trump lied, Trump lied, Trump lied. I just showed you some of the best moments that Donald Trump had. None of it was lies, of course. And as if Joe Biden's performance doesn't stand on its own. And by the way, it's not hard to debate a liar. It's actually quite easy to debate a liar, especially when that liar's microphone is turned off by your demands. You see, here's how you debate a liar. If you're debating a liar and they lie, then you stop and you say, oh, well, that's a lie. And let me explain to you why it's a lie. Here are the facts. I know the facts. That's how I know he's a liar. And I will deliver them to you. And then it's up to the American people to decide who you believe. All right. But that's how you debate a liar. You debate a liar by not looking like a brain damaged, feeble old man with 1 or maybe even 2 feet in the grave while you're standing on stage. That's how you debate a liar. But that's the best they got. That's all they got. And I want to share with you one last thing here. This is from Byron York, Washington Examiner. He interviewed Donald Trump last week and asked specifically about the debate because, as you know, many people were like, oh my gosh, why is he doing this debate under these terms and under these conditions? They're setting Donald Trump up for failure, right? Because he agreed to everything. This was all set up by the Biden campaign. And here's what he said. I want to read it to you from Byron York's column. What they did, I'm pretty sure, is that they approached me with a debate that I couldn't take, Trump explained. Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, Trump referred to the CNN anchor as fake Tapper throughout. I think that's hilarious. No audience, sitting down, originally sitting down, a dead debate, turn off the mics when you're not speaking so I can't interrupt them. Then they knew I wouldn't accept that because it was CNN, Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, and I like an audience. Probably he doesn't. Who knows? So they thought they would present it. I would say no. And then they would say, we can't debate because Trump said no. So I said yes before they even gave me the terms. So he got roped into it. And we'll never really know, except when the tell-all books come out and we learn just how disastrous this entire thing was when the people in Biden's inner circle actually admit to it. But boy, oh boy, if that's the case, you talk about the art of the deal. This is Donald Trump outplaying Joe Biden in a masterful way. And it's a good reminder to everyone as you see this post-debate spin and you see that somehow over the weekend, they're going to figure out a way to, forgive me, polish the turd. And listen, by Monday, the mainstream media, the corporate legacy media, the people who are in tank, who are driving this ship, actually, that Joe Biden seems to be in the captain's seat of, the media is going to, by Monday, have people actually believing that Biden won this debate. That's how deceitful and insidious they are. And of course, they write the history books. So at some point, it'll make its way into your kid's AP history exam. Who won the debate of 2024? Oh, Joe Biden did. Everybody knows that. But remember, as you know what really happened, as you see before your very eyes what transpired, that everything that happened last night at the CNN presidential debate, everything was crafted, created, written, and demanded by the Biden campaign itself. And Donald Trump still outplayed every single one of them.